Most of you aren't subscribed. Make sure to subscribe, as it helps out the channel. Without further ado, beginning our series, we follow our MC Haru, promising to never forget about his childhood friend Mi, even after he moves away. As a promise, Haru promises to return and marry Mi, but as we cut to the present we see an older-looking Haru daydreaming whilst on a bus, suddenly noticing a young girl staring at him. Out of nowhere, their bus suddenly swerves out of control, accidentally driving into a railway only to be struck and crumpled by a train. As Haru's life flashes before his eyes, he can only remember the moment when Mi agreed to marry Haru in the future, but as Haru awakens, he seems to have been transported to another world. Located in the kingdom of Beltram, in the year 991, Haru wonders if he is Ryo or Haru. Going through his past life memories, Haru manages to easily remember his time sparring with his master, along with the moment he saw Mi flirting with another boy. But as Ryo attempts to sort out his memories whilst having a fever, he suddenly hears some men calling out to him, surprised to see that Ryo is still alive. Ignoring Ryo, the men place a precious piece of cargo, all sitting down to enjoy a meal, pleased to have earned 10 gold coins for a simple job. Starving, seeing the men eat, the men order Ryo to get lost and wash himself, forced to leave as he scrounges for some wild berries. Knowing that in his former life he was Haruto, a 20-year-old university student, Ryo reminds himself that in his new body he is a boy that needs to avenge his mother. Flashing back, Ryo faintly remembers his time with his mother, curious as to why their family has unique black hair. Upon learning that his grandparents also have black hair, Ryo asks to visit them in Yagumo one day, but before that could happen, Ryo's mother was sadly slain. Wiping away his tears, Ryo prepares to head back, but is suddenly stopped by some girls in hoods, demanding to know if Ryo has seen a purple-haired girl anywhere. Believing that Ryo is incapable of speaking, the girls prepare to leave, but Celia speaks up, asking Vanessa for permission to interact with Ryo a little longer. With a calmer tone, Celia asks for Ryo's name, impressed to see Ryo's black hair. Celia asks if Ryo could tell them where to look if they are searching for a missing person, but Ryo advises against it, especially since the ladies are wearing such nice clothing. Realizing that Ryo is right, Vanessa states that they should return with a more fitting disguise, but the two younger girls get worried they won't find Flora in time. Just in case, Vanessa asks for Celia to scan the perimeter so as to not waste time, prompting Celia to cast a large search spell, something that shocks Ryo. Surprisingly, Celia along with the girls realize that Ryo has magic flowing out of his as well, something quite rare especially amongst orphans. Seeing as there were no other magic sources detected, the girls conclude that Flora must be up ahead, but first the girls head off needing to change. Before she forgets, Celia hands Ryo payment for the advice, shocking Ryo as Celia paid him quite a lot of silver coins. Fearing the coins will get stolen, Ryo quickly runs back home, announcing himself as he enters the home. Ryo is caught off guard when an assassin lunges towards his heart. Having barely missed Ryo's heart, Ryo loses his pouch of coins as the pouch protects him, but Ryo also notices that all the men from earlier have been slain. As the assassin prepares to finish off Ryo, a sudden spirit appears before Ryo, offering to show Ryo how to control his magic. In a split second, the spirit advises Ryo to take the magic overflowing from his body and use it to physically enhance his body. As the spirit departs, Ryo listens to the spirit's advice, slipping a slash from the assassin, only to land a clean punch on the attacker's stomach. Surprised, the assassin casts an enhancement spell of his own, attempting to match Ryo's speed. Ryo nonchalantly flips backwards only to land a kick to that attacker's face. Now annoyed, the attacker goes rogue, swinging his blade aimlessly, but Ryo takes the chance to bind and break the attacker's knife-wielding arm. Shocked at Ryo's athletic feats, the assassin tries to grab a hold of Ryo, but Ryo simply flips the attacker over, knocking him out before Ryo can land any more blows. Assessing the situation, Ryo notices the precious cargo is squirming, choosing to open the bag only to confirm that it is indeed the purple-haired girl, Flora. In complete shock, Flora begs Ryo to take her home, offering to pay him fine if he complies, but before she can say anything further she falls unconscious. With nothing else to do, Ryo begins lugging Flora out of his village, but spots Celia and the other girls have returned with new disguises. Believing that they caught Ryo red-handed, Christina slaps Ryo in the face, calling the others to check on Flora. Stepping in, Vanessa asks Celia and Rona to begin healing Flora whilst they speak with Ryo, but before Ryo can explain the situation, Christina accuses Ryo of kidnapping Flora. Seeing as Christina isn't listening, Ryo attempts to grab Christina's hands, but upon realizing that Christina is being injured, Vanessa raises her blade to Ryo. Diffusing the situation, Vanessa states that Rio will follow them back into town, but seeing as he has no choice, Rio accepts. A few minutes later, the kingdom's men seize Rio's home, discovering that the assassin is still alive, but in the crowd a hooded figure destroys a mysterious object, tying up any loose ends. Cutting to the royal kingdom, we see that Rio has been tied up and is now being interrogated by the vice-captain of the royal guards, Charles Arbor. Charles states that if Rio cooperates, he'll promise Rio will be released, but when Charles demands Rio admit to kidnapping the princess, Rio refuses to lie. Punching Rio in the stomach, Charles insists the Rio play along, but at the same time Flora awakens caught up on everything that has transpired. Hearing that the boy that saved her is being interrogated, Flora rushes to get permission to speak with him, but as the sun begins to set, Rio is seen badly beaten. Refusing to divulge any sort of information, desperate, Charles continues to lay into Rio, but Charles's men wonder if they should stop. Charles reminds his men that they were the ones that allowed Flora to be kidnapped, so they need to redeem themselves, but at the exact moment, Celia and Vanessa appear, demanding to know what is happening. Announcing that Flora owes her life to Rio, Charles and his men have no choice but to let Rio go, cutting to later that night when Rio has been healed by Celia, learning that Celia is learning healing magic. Happy to see that Rio is alright now, Celia apologizes for all the trouble Rio's been put through, revealing that the king would like to congratulate Rio for his help today. Surprised by the sudden turn of events, Rio asks if Celia would help teach him the proper etiquette to greet the king, cutting to the next day when Rio has cleaned up his scruffy-looking demeanor, revealing himself as a handsome prince, as he kneels before the royal family. Check out one of our other videos on the screen or in the info card above. Subscribe, like and comment.